Matt, obviously Ryan's in a little bit of a different responsibility level and role this year. Just how did you see him kind of playing with that, as I guess I called it before, green light, not only from a shooting perspective, but from a playmaking perspective, too? You feel like he's prepared to have a pretty big season, I'd imagine, in that.
Yeah, I think with any guy, you're really trying to work at this point in terms of decision making. Like, you look at us and we have 7 turnovers, and I think that's a good sign. But you also take some bad shots that are turnovers that don't go in a box score. So as you go back and watch the tape, I think that's just an important piece of the game that everybody has to understand who they are, and you have to make good decisions and be aggressive with all those factors going into it. And he's a guy that understands the game, has a great assist turnover ratio. I think he had 4 assists and 1 turnover other day. He has 5 and 0 today. He shot it well, and they hit 7 threes in that game. He had 7 threes in this game. So he's a good player. He hasn't quite had the opportunity because of Matthias and Rafael Davis and Carson Edwards being in the backcourt in those positions. So for someone to average 16 to 18 minutes in their career and shoot 40% from 3 and have the best assist turnover ratio in the history of the school, it's pretty impressive. So we need him to have that type of year, but we also need him just to just play to his strengths. Just make good decisions and guard your man, and he does a lot of little things that lead to winning.
You had, I think it was 18 offensive rebounds against West Virginia. You had 14 again tonight. And I know it's early and it's only 2 in, but is that something that you thought might be a strength for this team, either in terms of athleticism, in terms of IQ and effort and those sorts of intangibles?
Well, it's still a small sample size. You've only played 2 games and 2 contrasting styles. But, yeah, you hope to be able to steal possession somewhere, whether that's getting in passing lanes, getting on the offensive glass. But I thought our guys, Travion Williams is a good rebounder. Matt got on the offensive glass. Evan Boudreaux's done a good job, for us there. So anytime shots go up, we got to limit second chance opportunities, but we also, on the offensive end, we got to create some second chance opportunities for us also.
Matt, with Evan Boudreaux, just what goes into the decision there, whether to play him at the 5 or the 4, how much to play him at those 2 positions?
Yeah, just trying to mix it up. Obviously, in these scrimmage exhibition type scenarios, I got a lot of guys in there I'm trying to get minutes for. Trying to find the production, no matter who it's from. I think he can definitely help us. I was kind of shocked at halftime. I didn't play him as much as I'd like to play him. I saw that. The one thing I don't like doing with reserves, but it's hard, I like to see them be able to play, maybe only sub in once if you're a reserve, and so you can play 4 straight minutes or 6 straight minutes, and maybe that's all you get. Each guy's a little bit different. He obviously played a whole lot better. He hasn't answered my question. I really not had a question, but more of a statement, like when the last time he came off the bench. Maybe it's been, 7th grade, 8th grade, 9th grade, 2nd grade. Like so kind of that piece is I think is difficult. Doesn't mean that he'll continue to come off the bench. Just like he's finding his way, we're also trying to find our way and understand a lot of new faces with that. But I like his fight. He's got a fight to him. He gets on the glass. He plays hard. I think once he settles in, he's going to make a couple more shots. The one thing about scoring and getting the ball a lot, it makes you feel more comfortable in a game. And now your comfort level isn't the same when you shoot 8 shots in 15 minutes. It's just not. But when you play 35 minutes and you get to shoot the ball 14 times, 15 times, you're more of in a comfort level. So he's kind of finding his way there. But I think he can help us in a lot of different ways.
Hey, Coach, you know your team better than obviously anybody. Has anything surprised you this early in the season? Any player stepped up and kind of surprised you that you didn't expect?
Not really. I think we've had 2 quality games that are going to help us get better. I think sometimes people don't have those type of games or scrimmages that you kind of look at. I've been impressed with Eric Hunter's ability not to turn it over, even though he's had a couple mistakes in terms of getting a shot blocked and things of that nature. He got a shot blocked today. He did the same thing against West Virginia. So I think that's a good, learning example for him to improve that. But I think he's done a pretty good job. I think it's really hard for young guys to understand how demanding you have to be of yourself to be a quality player at this level. I think that's what comes out. You have to do your job, and you have to do it every single time. And the people that don't, it's going to hurt us and it's going to hurt them. You know, we got to be able to find. You'd like to get to 7 to 8 guys that can help you in those areas and be consistent. But it's right now that's, you know, we're not there. We're obviously not there. And there's times that you make decisions and you really don't know. You really got to lean on some older guys, but those younger guys got to, you know, step up and play. So no one's really surprised me. I think that aspect. Travion Williams can rebound. He's got to improve in the other areas to get out and into, in structure. I think structure is his biggest hurdle, understanding everything that's going on. It can be overwhelming. You got ball screen rules, you got post D rules, you got 35 plays, you got 10 out of bounds plays, you got 10 side out of bounds plays. You handle something different on a flare than you do a down screen. You handle something different on a back screen. I can keep going on. You got to know what you're doing. And sometimes when people have just played and they've had a couple rules, it's hard for them to process and still play hard and be functional. And so that's where you get a lot of time with young guys.
Have you made a call yet on the redshirt big man?
No.
No.
Yeah.
But along those lines, does Trevion's rebounding factor pretty heavily into that decision, just as something you can really count on from one of those two guys?
Yeah, no question. But I'm going to discuss it with them before I discuss it with anybody else. I think that's fair.
You mentioned Eric. I just wanted to ask a little bit more about him. What did you like and not like from him and No Gel tonight?
We have to do a good job of containing the dribble, and I think it starts with those guys. They guard the ball. Carson goes up and guards the ball some. We got to do a better job at that slot of going up and pressuring the basketball better, and just trying to wear guys down. We're not going to keep Carson up there guarding those guys all game, but we need to be able to rotate those 3 guys. But when they're on the ball, be able to pester those guys. I truly believe that some of Marian's shots in the second half was us wearing them down and us going after them in their legs. It's hard. It's hard for someone when you got to handle the basketball and then be able to make shots. It's kind of like a boxer. You're just trying to get them wobbly and trying to work them, but you also got to contain the dribble. So it's going to be important for those guys to be good defensive guards, take care of the basketball. And we need that from both of those guys. I think Klein's a guy that can really help us make shots, make plays, use his experience, just a smart, experienced player. Then obviously Carson is a great player. He hasn't gotten going yet, but he will. I'm not really concerned with that. We got to get him just locking into defense, because when those guys are pressuring the ball and you can let him get in passing lanes and let some of those other guys get in passing, it's going to generate some offense for us. But we also can't gamble and then put our defense in a bad spot. So that's really what we're looking for, those guys. Just the decision making, just being good defensive guards, rebounding for us, doing a lot of little things and leading our team.
Kind of along those lines, it seemed like the perimeter pressure affected them a little bit. Should this be a defense that forces more turnovers in the last couple of years?
I think you have to start, before you can answer that question, with being fundamentally sound and using your athleticism. The one thing that gets away from you when you talk along those lines is they think that means gambling. And the guy on the basketball is really not reaching and he's really not gambling. He's just applying pressure without dribble penetration. Then you can get into some passing lanes and get more steals and get more deflections. So for us, we have to keep working fundamentally right there in our dribble containment. Also know where we want to funnel the basketball if we do get beat, and then have our build-in help and then be able to flood the weak side. I thought we did that a couple times. They drove baseline and got stuck. I thought those were really good possessions for us in terms of keeping it out of the middle, keeping it in front of us, good help, and good awareness on our team. So we just got to keep working, kind of building our house defensively and making sure we have a good foundation before we kind of branch out. Because once you start doing that, you might be able to beat some people that way and it looks pretty good, but when you get against good people that's not going to get bothered by pressure, you still have to have a sound defensive group. So now if you can't turn somebody over, we had that about 10 years ago where we would turn over a lot of people in non-conference, and then when we got against people we didn't turn over, we'd look at each other like, what's wrong? When in reality, nothing's wrong. They're just a good team, and now we have to be able to have long 20 to 30-second defensive possessions and get stops. And we struggled with that for about 2 to 3 weeks at that time, and then we got better with it.
Matt, the past couple years, the three-pointer has been such a big piece of your offense.
Right.
Klein had 7 tonight, but he was the only one who hit any.
Right.
Is that just a small sample size, or is this going to be a different style of offense or different type
No,
of
I
shooting
think
team?
I think there's probably 3 to 4 shots that shouldn't have been taken. Maybe probably a handful. I'll go back and watch them, and then we'll kind of go from there. But I think everybody that we have shooting threes, maybe outside of 1 3 from one person, aren't 3-point shooters. Like no one shot a 3 that's a non-3-point shooter besides one. And so now that should be a shot clock 3-pointer. But the other guys, I think they're going to make them. I think for those guys, a lot of the guys that come off the bench for us, probably outside of Evan, are trying to find their way, through scoring. And that's just part of being a good player and having confidence in yourself. But they're going to find their way playing for us by rebounding, not turning the ball over, and guarding their man. And whoever can figure that out the quickest is really going to help themselves and get into a role for us. The people that can't do that aren't going to play very much. And so that's just the way it's going to be. Those older guys are going to play. They have the experience. And those younger guys, if they can do those things, if they can come in and be solid for us, make a couple open threes, but if they miss them and they guard their man and rebound and take care of the ball, they're still going to be fine. It's still going to work for you.
Coach, how important was it tonight with Carson struggling offensively to see the other guys step up and it being an exhibition game and not in the regular season yet?
Yeah. Well, I think it's good. Anytime you have a guy of that caliber that's going to get you 20 points on a night, and probably on an average, and he doesn't have that kind of night, I think it helps that you can have success without him scoring. Obviously, he doesn't want that, and we don't want that. But it does happen. It's part of basketball. I think it's great. I think it's great. They don't like to grind out victories early in the season, and that was the first half struggles. We had some kind of tough lineups in there at times, but when we did have an okay lineup in there, we still had struggles. And so I think that's good to learn to mentally be like, I can still do my job when my shot's not going in. I can help our team win in other ways. And so that just doesn't go for him. That goes for everybody. So, but I think it's a good sign. I think when those things happen, and I liked playing, Marian. I think it's a quality team. They hit 21 threes in their previous game. It makes us stay on the perimeter, guard the arc. And their guards, they got, the one kid struggled today, but he's an All-American for him. And he's had, Stowers has had a really good career, and they have good guards. Those guys are, they're Division I players, and so their whole backcourt, those 3 guys that started, those guys are Division I players, and so that was good for us to be able to defend them and their skill and kind of get spread out and still do some good things. All right, thank you.